Welcome everyone to another episode of Down Under Stormtrooper. Today I'm going to be working on a project that's in a galaxy much closer to home. It's in the realm of Ghostbusters. We've got a movie coming up. Frozen Empire is going to be released very shortly. And what I thought I would do before the movie got released is just do a couple of mods to my existing modded Haslab Proton Pack that I've got. So I've spent a fair bit of time already weathering the pack, toning down some of the really shiny plastic elements that I felt made it look like a toy. So I absolutely love the Haslab Proton Pack. It looked amazing straight out of the box, but there were some things that I wanted to tweak just to make it look a little bit more realistic and less toyish. So some of the parts that looked a little bit too plasticky, I've toned them down. I've taken the shine off some of them. I've also done quite a few weathering passes over the Proton Pack, added a little bit of rust to parts to make it look a little bit more weathered, a little bit more older, and lots of dirt and some oil and bits like that around the pack as well. So in addition, I've also replaced some of the fake electrical tape with real electrical tape, cleaned up the copper wires there and actually put some copper tape over the top of them to make them look a little bit more realistic, and they catch the light a little bit as well because of that, that they're actually metal. So today what I want to do is, there was a piece that's always bugged me a little bit, and that's the connector from the cyclotron to the wand itself. So what I wanted to do is replace it with a much stronger connector. So this is a 3-pin marine socket. So I'm going to be replacing the one that comes out of the box here, which is very much a plastic connection. It's a little bit weak, with something that's going to be a little bit more robust. So if I connect these in, you can see that's really tough. Now, that's not going to come out particularly easy, which is great. Adds a little bit more strength to the connector as well. The other thing too is got a new flexible hose component here. So the one that comes with the Proton Pack is a molded plastic piece, which is great. It looks fine. I had painted it and weathered it already, but what I want to do is actually replace it with this this gas mask hose. So it's actually got a fabric sock over the top of it, which makes it a little bit more realistic. So I'm not going for screen accuracy. It's based loosely on the Phoebe pack, especially with the amount of weathering that's been put on it. But for me, I'm not going for screen accuracy. So it's not the exact same gas mask hose that they would use in the movie, nor is this connector screen accurate as well. But it is functional, and that's one of the things I really like about the Ghostbusters world and Proton Packs in general, is that you can mod them and make them your own. So I haven't gone too far away from the movie and screen version of the pack, but things like these connectors, I think that is something that would probably happen in that Ghostbusters universe. Something like this would break, they'd replace it with something else. And that's one of the things I really like about that. It's a lived-in world. You can see in the new movie they've made a lot of changes to the Proton Packs already. Added some safety colouring around the bumper, and it's actually got a third arm to that as well. So there's lots of little subtle changes to the packs over the years, even between Ghostbusters 1 and 2. But what I love is the fact that you can see that it's been tinkered to. It's a working product that they go through and modify and adjust as it wears out. So and go through and replace parts. So that's kind of the spirit that I'm working on with the mods that I do to the Proton Pack. So today let's get stuck into replacing the hose and the connector. So the first thing I've got to do is pull some of the parts off so that I can actually get to the motherboard and remove the back of that from the pack itself. That will let us get access to the inside of the Proton Pack. I'm also going to take off any of the parts that I think might be a little bit compromised when I turn the kit over. So let's get the bumper off here. Might take the ion arm off as well, just to protect that. So the first thing that I'm going to want to remove in order to get access to the back of the pack is the Alice frame. So if you have one of the Haslab Proton Packs and you don't have an Alice frame, I would highly recommend getting one. It's an absolute game changer. So while the pack's quite light compared to other homemade Proton Packs, the Alice frame really helps to support and distribute the weight. Otherwise you're cosplaying with the flat motherboard itself against your back, and it's not really comfortable. So yeah, this really just makes the pack something that you can wear all day. So you can see here the Alice frame is supported onto the back of the pack. Now these are the clips that come with the Proton Pack. So now what I want to do is just systematically go through and remove all of the screws that are holding the motherboard down to the Proton Pack itself. I'm going to start with taking the battery compartment off and then just work myself around in a clockwise fashion and then go into the middle. Now the screws that hold the Proton Pack down are quite small, so I'm changing to a thinner, pointier Phillips head screwdriver, just so I can avoid damaging the heads of the screws. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is that I'm using a magnetized tip as well. Alright, let's start removing these screws. So I believe some of these screws actually support the tubes that are on the front of the Proton Pack. So yeah, I can actually feel that wobbling. So what I'm doing is just supporting the tube on the underside. And there we go. And there is another one here as well, so I'll grab that one while I'm here. So you can see all of the screws are the same length. However, I do believe there's two towards the top that are a little bit longer. So it looks like it may be these two just here are going to be a little bit longer. So just need to make sure I remember where those longer ones go back in. Okay, so I actually got that reversed. So these are the normal, this first one here is the normal screws, and this is a smaller screw here. So we've got two smaller screws that we need to remember where they go. So it's just these two right here. Lucky I've got a recording to go to if I mess this up. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now I just need to start slowly easing the edges of the pack. So right around the edges of the pack are little plastic clips. So I'm just going to ease them up. Just slowly work my way around. I don't want to break any of those, so I'm not going to put too much pressure on. So a bit of a helpful hint, remove the cyclotron before trying to pull the back of the pack off. So a bit of a note to self, if it's feeling really tough, it may not be that there's a tough clip that's on the inside holding it down, you've probably got a screw still. So I feel like an absolute goose, found one more screw. Alright, now the other thing to keep in mind, you can't just lift the motherboard straight off. It is connected, the batteries are connected here to a port just on the circuit board here. So I'm just going to be very careful here. Get my fingernails in the groove there and pull that apart. I want to make sure I don't pull it off by the wires. That'll be a bad day. So I can see here, there's only actually 2 wires that connect from the circuit board up to the connector where the wand goes. Alright, so let's see if we can pull these out. It's a hex. So this is just an Allen key. Just getting a bit more flex to the cable by removing the tape off. Here we go. Alright, and just give you a close-up look at that. Here's the replacement connector. So when this lines up and connects up to the, so this will go, obviously going to insert into the hose. The wand has got 2 connectors that come down into it. The main thing I've got to do is make sure that, so it doesn't really matter what pins these wires line up to, as long as they match. I've got a dog hair on me. As long as they match when they, from the side from the wand to this side going into the pack, as long as they line up and that they're the same wires going in, it should all be fine. Alright, so let's have a look. What have we got to do here? So I can see immediately here, the hole here for the actual the jack is much larger than this here. So the first thing I'm going to do is have to drill that out a bit. The screws just don't line up, so I'm going to have to Dremel these out a bit too. I think that's what I might actually start with. I think I'll get the Dremel out and then just cut those off and get them flush, and then I'll worry about getting this hole sorted. See that? Getting there. I just had to remove those screw mounts. So my next job here is to just get the hole right, so I can push that through. see here, need to get tighter in with these bits. So what I'm going to do now is just drill the holes of the new screws, and I'm also going to tap the threads into that as well. So what I'm going to be using is these bottom pins. Alright, so what I'm going to do is come up with a basic system. Red for right, black for the left, and just get that soldered in there. So I'm just putting a little bit of flux on the wires, just to try to make sure that they actually tin nicely and solder to the joints. May not be the best soldering job in the world, but they're nice and strong, so I'm happy with that. Considering I haven't done any soldering since I was a kid. Alright, so remember, right goes on the right hand side here. Alright, that's feeling pretty snug. Nice and snug. That one's not going to go anywhere. So the gas hose here, that fits nice and snugly in there. So what I want to do is get the end of the hose from the wand, line up those wires. Remember, this one will be the red. So I'm about to explain how this connector works and how you can pull it apart and get it ready for soldering. So you just take this flange off the end. This also unscrews here. Alright, so in order to be able to get access to the pins, to be able to do some soldering, all you need to do is press this pin here, and that releases it. So you can see there's actually some grooves in here that line up to the molding of the socket. So that just means that you can make sure that you get it lined up when you're putting it back in. So that sits nice and neatly, and then that sleeve will lock it all in place. Just because I know I'm bound to mess this up if I don't do this, I'm just going to put a black bit of texture on here just to mark the red wire. So I've now disconnected the hose from the wand, so this is the other end of the connector that goes all the way inside the wand itself. So what I'm going to be doing is getting rid of this moulded plastic version of the gas mask with a real gas mask. Different colour than that was in the movie, but that's alright. It's better texture than the real thing, so that will work fine for me. So what I just need to make sure I'm careful of is when I'm cutting this, I'm going to be cutting it as close to this as possible. And I did want to take off about, because I find the hose to be a little long, so I'm going to take off around about 10 to 15 centimetres to reduce the length of it as well. From connector to connector, the hose is around about 1400. So I know I'm going to be cutting it back to about here, where the plastic moulding is. So maybe I might bring it back to around, I don't want to take too much off. So I might take it down to about here. I might just make a note on that. So ideally, this, when I bring this into the new gas hose, I really want to make sure that that's probably the rib in the loom. That's the last one showing. So that's interesting, there's actually a fair bit of give in the wire here, so I was pretty happy to see that. Alright, so let's cut this as close as I can. So first things first, make sure I get that in. Alright, so they're both really nice, clean and strong connections there. So let's get this put back together. Okay, lovely. Alright, let's get this connected. It's a nice, strong, firm connection. Let's get the batteries put back in. Jeez, I swear this is where the weight is on the pack. These batteries are so heavy. Alright, so that's a first good sign. Now let's see if we've got power. Alright, that's looking good. So before I was talking about a really clever product design, and the team from Haslab's done some really smart things. So for example, you've got these two tubes. Now they pretty much look identical in terms of width and stuff. So if you're not really familiar with the Proton Pack, how do you know which one of these mounts the tubes go on? Great thing is they're actually different diameters. So I can't get this one on here. It'll only fit on this mount. The other thing that's great too is that they've got an alignment device, so I can't not, it doesn't fit in anywhere else. It's got to slide in properly, and then I know I've got it in the right spot. So it'll be the same for this one as well. Again, nicely fit. Can't go wrong with that. That's really, really clever, smart. Alright, so that sums up today's work. I'm really happy with the new connector. It's a lot more sturdier than the old flimsy sort of fragile connector that came with the Proton Pack. It's a nice firm connection. It's not going to fall out at all, and it feels really sturdy. So really happy with that. I can yank that fairly hard and there's no movement in that whatsoever. The other great thing is I was able to pull the pack apart and put it back together and everything's still working great. The gas mask hose was a great addition as well. It's a lot more flexible than the hose that comes with, or the mock gas mask hose that comes with the Haslab Proton Pack. You can see how firm that is. I mean, it's a little bit loose because I had to cut it, but you can see how rigid that is. And it really makes the whole hose flex right out while you're cosplaying, to the point where it can actually get in the way and knock other people. But this one really hangs low and it's nice and flexible. So I think it's going to be a much more comfortable hose and setup to wear cosplaying. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions about anything that I've done today, please send me through a comment. I'll get back to you. And may those costuming gods be with you.